Welcome to the Upside Down, viewers. We've taken a break from our weekly D&D game to bring you a fantastic episode. Tina Merrick, Max Lewis, and more are here to talk about far more pressing matters than Barb's disappearance.
So break out the frozen waffles and weirdly convincing blonde wigs, because from Ball State University, the real deal starts now.
Hello and welcome to The Real Deal, Ball State's one and only entertainment news show. I'm Dustin Henderson.
And I'm Joyce Byers. As you can see, in the spirit of Halloween, Logan and I decided to dress up like our favorite characters from Stranger Things.
What's not one of the Stranger Things on this planet, however, is our capability to produce a quality episode of television.
Here with some recent music headlines is Tina Merrick. Tina?
To start off, the estate of music legend Prince has announced the first album release after his death in April. One is a greatest hits album titled Prince Forever, boasting a 40-song track list. Another release is a deluxe reissue of Purple Rain. Rolling Stone reports both albums will include unreleased songs from Prince's vaults. The compilation album includes the first official release of the song Moonbeam Levels. Prince's solo rendition of Nothing Compares to You is also included on Prince Forever, as well as unreleased Prince photos by Herb Ritz. It will officially be out on November 22nd. The deluxe edition of Purple Rain will be out in early 2017, and there is surely more to come as the advisors to his estate uncover more from his music vaults. And more music will be released by Drake. USA Today reports the rapper announced Sunday that he's working on a new album called More Life, The Playlist. He broke the news while hosting an episode of the radio show on Apple's Beats One called OVO Sound. Drake said, "I want to give you a collection of songs that becomes the soundtrack to your life," and that all of the music would be original. Some songs from the album he played on the show were Two Birds, One Stone, Sneakin', Wanna Know Remix, and Fake Love. He released the cover art soon after hosting the show. The album is set to be released in December. Lastly, Taylor Swift fans got a little of what they've been missing from the singer this year at her only concert of 2016 in Austin, Texas, Saturday night. Rolling Stone reports an estimated 80,000 fans gathered at the Circuit of the Americas racetrack for the concert, the opening song being New Romantics. Early on, Swift acknowledged that the concert was her only 2016 show after spending much of the year prior on the 1989 album World Tour. She said she was looking forward to reconnecting with fans despite recovering from a cold that could have some impact on her vocals. Swift made the concert even more special when she performed live for the first time This Is What You Came For, the hit she helped pen for her ex, Calvin Harris, and singer Rihanna. That's all for your music news. I'm Tina Merrick.
Thank you, Tina. Sounds like Taylor Swift is finally coming out of the woodwork after being eviscerated earlier this year by Yeezus himself, the greatest man alive. In other unrelated news, Brandon, our head writer, is a massive Kanye fanboy.
Shockingly, singular Taylor Swift appearances and Drake playlists aren't the only thing happening in pop culture this week. Here with this week's Hollywood headlines is Max Lewis. Max?
Singer Miley Cyrus outdid herself when she recently went on the campaign trail for Democratic presidential nominee Hillary Clinton. Cyrus campaigned in the state of Virginia at George Mason University, and she met with prospective voters and even went knocking on doors in the university's dorms. And Cyrus wasn't the only celebrity on the campaign trail. Singer Katy Perry also held rallies in Las Vegas this past weekend in support of Clinton. And the White House press corps got an unexpected visitor recently when comedy legend Bill Murray crashed the White House briefing room. Murray addressed reporters after the White House press secretary finished the daily briefing. Murray was in Washington to accept the Mark Twain Award for American Humor. Murray was at the White House to meet with President Obama. And Disney announced that actor Donald Glover will play Lando Calrissian in the upcoming Han Solo Star Wars film. The untitled movie, which is expected to be released in 2018, will be directed by Phil Lord and Christopher Miller, and will star Alden Ehrenreich as young Han Solo. The film will focus on the Calrissian and Solo, played by Billy D. Williams and Harrison Ford in The Empire Strikes Back, and Return of the Jedi as young men. And now you're caught up on the latest stories from Hollywood. This has been your Hollywood Headlines. I'm Max Lewis.
Thank you, Max. I may seem calm on the outside, but the fanboy in me has been dancing to Jedi's Rock for the past few days over that casting decision.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, after this commercial, we're finally getting to the Halloween segments. So get ready for chills, frights, and interesting information about the world of entertainment.
Any questions?
We'll be right back.
You were seen in the area that night. Did you murder Megan Hipwell?
No.
This guy risks his life uncooking the books for some of the scariest people on the planet. Drug cartels, arms brokers, money launderers, assassins. Who survives this kind of clientele? Imagine the secrets this guy has.
Something is wrong with Doris. She's experiencing something amazing.
I believe she is channeling powers we do not understand.
Doris?
Turn around, mister.
Two things are gonna happen. First, that phone over there is gonna ring. Second, you're gonna be wearing these cuffs.
Who the hell are you?
I'm the guy you didn't count on.
What the hell wrong with it? Let me look up under the hood. Is everybody all right?
Ma, I'm scared of you.
Ain't nothing out there.
My dad!
What the hell wrong with you? Oh, hell.
Welcome back. Now that it's Halloween season, many of you may be looking for a spooky movie to hide behind a blanket from. Blair Witch, The Exorcist.
Pixels. Ugh.
Here to recommend a horror film you might not have seen is Margaret Mitchell. Margaret?
Nothing screams Halloween like real physical screaming due to watching a scary movie. That's why this season I'm recommending everybody watches Hush, a thriller film featured on Netflix. Now personally, I think this movie is under the radar. The film was added to Netflix a couple months ago, and for a while it stirred some conversations, but after the initial posting of the movie, news from it died off. But I feel it's time to bring it back on the radar. Hush is a movie about a deaf-mute woman who lives in a secluded spot in the forest in order to finish her next successful novel. She lives in a nice little cabin with a friend down the path that visits frequently. However, the night that this film takes place in, an unknown and unwelcome visitor stops by. The film follows this young woman through the house as she begins to realize that she is no longer alone. At first, I thought that with all the quietness of this film, I wouldn't feel fear from the story, and boy, was I wrong. My breathing slowed, but my heart was racing as I watched a man play cat and mouse with this innocent woman for no reason. There are so many different situations that this girl faces in the movie, and my goodness, she is brave as hell. I really enjoyed this movie because rather than making the character's disability make her weak, it made her stronger. Because she's lost one of her most important senses, the others are heightened, and it's those senses that helped her play the game. The unwelcome guest has no idea what he's up against. I must say, I'm glad I'm not a skeleton, or else I wouldn't have had the guts to watch this movie. You don't have to be a ship captain to see this movie on the radar. Just get on Netflix, sit back, relax, and feel the fear. Have a great Halloween. I'll see you next time. I'm Margaret Mitchell.
Thank you, Margaret. Logan, weren't you once in a similar situation?
Well, yeah, but instead of being deaf, I had all my senses, and instead of being in danger of being murdered, I was just hiding from my roommates.
Like hide and seek?
Hey, the terror is that the loser has to pick up the bar tab next time we go out.
Ooh, that is scary. Anyways, here to talk about a sort of scare that he's not much of a fan of is Angelo Oriema with this week's Rangelo. Angelo?
As we all know, one of the biggest traditions around this time of the year is curling up on a couch, throwing on the television, and experiencing some good old-fashioned masochism, all in the form of subjecting ourselves to various horror films. Sure, on this very program today, we will undoubtedly run through many films of this genre, but right now, I look to bring down the hammer on why the majority of these films really, for the most part, suck. The reason? An over-reliance and over-emphasis on the trope of jump scares. Now before we get started, let's get this out of the way. Jump scares have been around since the genesis of the horror genre, and their use as a whole is justified. If done well, a proper jump scare can not only shock viewers, but also make them feel untrustworthy and more insecure going forward. Kind of like how I feel after seeing those Facebook videos of dogs walking on their two hind legs. I think you're hiding something from us, dogs, and I intend to get to the bottom of it. Anyway, while jump scares can build such a palpable sense of tension and uneasiness, they may also be used in the laziest sense imaginable, just being thrown in willy-nilly just to elicit a cheap jump and scream. Unfortunately, the latter is much more common in today's society, and the statistics prove it. Classics in the horror genre renowned for their high quality, such as Psycho, Silence of the Lambs, Jaws, and The Shining, all feature 4 or fewer jump scares. On the other hand, the recent 3 Insidious films range from 15 to 24 jump scares, and the Paranormal Activity films range from 20 to 30. This drastic increase in the amount of jump scares used aligns with the overall drop in review scores and perceived quality of horror films throughout the last few decades. I mean, for God's sakes, look at the 2 Poltergeist films. The original featuring 9 jump scares, and the remake somehow featuring 21. While viewers as a whole have largely changed, this does not mean that the content of these great horror films has to change as well. Rather than being suspenseful, chilling drama, such as these well-regarded films of the past, society has wrapped themselves in the comfortable ideology that whatever makes them leap out of their theater chair and cover themselves with popcorn and self-loathing makes for a good horror film. And hey, different strokes for different folks. If that's what rocks your socks, by all means. But an over-reliance on jump scares is undoubtedly used in a lazy fashion in modern filmmaking. And I implore directors and writers to try and recapture the ways that they would get the bejesus scared out of us way back when. Well, anyway, that's been my rant for this week. I'm Angelo Oriema, and there may or may not be a jump scare after this segment. I'll just leave you on your toes.
Thank you, Angelo, for speaking succinctly and clearly about something that bothers...
Boo!
Every single person in our control room is giving one of the deepest face palms right now, Logan.
Well, I'm sorry. I was just trying to prove Angelo wrong.
You just furthered his point.
Make like the movie Margaret talked about in Hush. Stick around. We've got Madison McGill with a top 5. Welcome back. Well, I can't think of a more appropriate way to end a Halloween episode than with a top 5 Halloween movies list, apart from a complete shot-for-shot remake of Halloween with Louis Wiseman and Jamie Lee Curtis's role.
So here to give her our list is our very own Madison McGill. Madison?
With Halloween right around the corner, what's better than a Halloween movie marathon? Today I'm going to share with you my top 5 picks for getting into the Halloween spirit. And before we start, yes, I know my picks are basically kids' movies, but I'm a baby and like to sleep at night. At number 5, I have Halloween Town. I used to watch this all the time on Disney Channel when I was a kid, and let's be honest, I still watch it every time it comes on TV. Sure, the acting isn't the best and the special effects could be better, but it's a childhood classic. Who hasn't wanted to visit Halloween Town at least once in their life? At number 4, I have The Little Vampire. I absolutely love this movie, and in my opinion, it's a better vampire movie than Twilight. I mean, it has better love story, they turn cows into vampires, I don't know how that works, but it's great. And 3 small children can outsmart a grown man. It has everything. Who else than Jonathan Lipnicki can befriend a vampire? I mean, he's already best friends with a talking mouse. There simply is no other kid that can save the entire vampire race. It's a must-watch in my book. My list would not be complete without a Tim Burton movie, so at number 3, I have Corpse Bride. The animation is fantastic, it's quirky, has just the right amount of creepy, everything you want in a Tim Burton film. Who accidentally marries a corpse other than a character played by Johnny Depp? The music is great for any Halloween playlist. It has its dark and funny moments, like when the dead all come back to the land of the living and chaos ensues. Not to mention, I've never seen so many people almost die at a wedding. At number 2, I have the classic The Addams Family. First off, it isn't Halloween if you haven't heard the Addams Family theme song at least once. That should be on everyone's playlist. Sometimes I feel like Wednesday Addams is my spirit animal. Not to mention, her look is so simple, it can be an easy go-to Halloween costume. Every October, my cousins and I come together to watch this movie. It's the perfect movie for a Halloween night, and the Addams Family is the perfect Halloween family. Sitting at my top spot is, of course, Hocus Pocus. I watched this movie the first day of fall and will watch it again on Halloween. Who are more iconic than the Sanderson sisters? And who can forget the I Put a Spell on You musical number? Also, I'm gonna be honest, I still shake my head every time Max is stupid enough to light the candle. Like next time, let's listen and not anger the talking cat. But it's still my favorite Halloween movie of all time. Until next time, I'm Madison McGill.
Thank you, Madison, though I'm surprised Nightmare Before Christmas isn't on that list.
Excuse me, that's a Christmas film.
Excuse me, look at the film's aesthetic.
How much of the movie takes place on Halloween?
About 15 minutes.
And how long does it linger on Christmas time?
Most of the movie.
Exactly. Let this be a lesson to the folks at home. The Nightmare Before Christmas is absolutely a Christmas film.
Hopefully our final word after this break won't be as controversial.
Oh my God. Dante's Inferno isn't fiction, it's a prophecy. Someone created a plague.
Our population is spiraling out of control. Inferno is the cure.
They're gonna wipe out half the world's population unless we find this virus. They left a trail.
You won't be able to trust your own thoughts for a while. Human lives are at stake. If a plague exists, you know what governments will do to get it.
We ready? We are in an undisclosed location, interrogating Jim Osterberg about the Stooges, the greatest rock and roll band ever.
Iggy and the Stooges reinvented music as we know it.
We weren't like the other bands.
A feeling come over you with this great sound that we're making.
The most popular rock and roll band in Britain today.
Oasis were involved in a drunken brawl.
Immediately condemned by politicians.
The day that it steps over into the tabloids, then you've gone to the dark side. Trouble seemed to find us.
It all happened too quick.
Oasis was like a Ferrari. Great to look at, great to drive, and it'll fucking spin out of control every now and again. Oasis's greatest strength was me and Liam. It's also what drove the band into the ground in the end.
You know, there were some great Disney Channel movies from our childhood, but I would say the best ones were their Halloween films. But based on today's shows on Disney Channel, I would assume that the quality in Fear Factor has been highly limited since about 2009. Today's kids wouldn't be able to stomach the same movies that we grew up with. Although they did recently play Twitches in all of the Halloween towns. You know why? Because those movies were everything. They haven't made anything worth watching since the fruitful years of the 90s. Are today's kids really being sold on My Babysitter's a Vampire or Have You Met My Ghoul Friend? Honestly, that sounds like one you might like, Logan, but did you ever see Under Wraps with the mummy in the local neighborhood creep's basement?
Not only does that not sound like a real film, it also sounds like a trap, so I'm going to say no to that.
Oh, it's real, Logan. They talked about bras, celibacy, nudity, Nazis. That stuff does not fly on Disney Channel anymore. The PTA moms would be rioting and Disney Channel would burn to the ground. If you want to watch these movies, my best suggestion, find them on YouTube. The good ones are still out there, so don't settle for this trash on TV. Or maybe, since we're almost done with college, it's time for us to leave Disney Channel behind.
Well, if being an adult means I have to leave Disney behind, I guess I'm never graduating. Speaking on Halloween-related television, I wanted to talk about a horror TV show that started this month and has yet to get much recognition. While American Horror Story, Roanoke, and Scream Queens are already giving people a decent amount of scares this month, I feel like everyone is missing out on another horror show that has tons of potential, and that's Sci-Fi's Channel Zero. Yes, I know it's a sci-fi show, but please hear me out. Channel Zero is an anthology series similar to The Twilight Zone and American Horror Story, and it's executive produced by Chronicles Max Landis. The miniseries takes creepypastas, scary stories from the internet, and turns them into episodic narratives with each season handling a different story. Since this is the show's first season, the show has only handled one creepypasta so far, but it's a bit of a classic, Candle Cove. Have you ever heard of Candle Cove, Madeline?
No, but it sounds lit.
Funny. Well, the story's premise revolves around a child psychiatrist that goes back to his hometown in order to fully uncover the mystery of Candle Cove, a demented puppet show about pirates that might have led to the deaths of several kids back in the late 80s, including his twin brother's own death. As he investigates, new information comes to light as to the possibility of children today being affected by that same very show, causing him to not only question his own sanity, but also try his best to make sure history doesn't repeat itself. While the show is barely in its first season, the episodes I've seen so far are unnerving. The creatures are practical and legitimately creepy, the editing is surreal, and the whole story is so interesting that you're conflicted. You want to know more about this mystery, yet you're terrified about what might be uncovered. Despite really enjoying this season of American Horror Story and the first season of Stranger Things, Channel Zero is probably the closest show this year to actually scare me. With a couple episodes left and a second season on the way that is already looking to be just as freaky, I definitely recommend giving this show a watch. And with that said, that wraps up the Halloween show for this week. Be sure to check out our website, Facebook, and Twitter pages for news and updates on all things entertainment. I'm Logan Sowash.
And I'm Madeline May. We'll see you next time.